English study plane for talking. Alex always dreamt of connecting with people globally, but his English felt like a heavy anchor. He watched countless videos, felt the frustration of understanding fragments, and dreaded speaking. The language seemed a colossal mountain, its peak shrouded in mist. He knew English was the key to his aspirations, a universal bridge he desperately needed to cross. He yearned for fluency, a real voice. One evening, staring at his ceiling, a peculiar idea sparked. What if learning English wasn't a chore, but an exciting journey, like piloting a magnificent English study plane for talking? This wasn't just about grammar, it was about aerial maneuvers and communication, navigating linguistic skies. He envisioned himself taking flight, soaring above his inhibitions. The first crucial step, his mentor, a wise, old pilot of words in his imagination, insisted, was immersion. "Why you must listen," echoed the pilot's voice. Alex began listening intently to podcasts, movies, and interviews, not just for comprehension, but for intonation, rhythm, and natural phrasing. He absorbed sounds like a sponge, tuning his ears. Every morning, the study plane took off with listening exercises. Alex discovered that true understanding wasn't just about individual words. It was about the melody of sentences, the pauses, the emotional nuances conveyed through tone. His brain slowly began to map these auditory patterns, creating connections he hadn't noticed before. This consistent listening practice was like fueling his plane. He would replay difficult sections, mimicking the pronunciation and cadence. It felt awkward initially, but the mentor encouraged him. Every great pilot started by listening to air traffic control. Alex's passive listening gradually became an active, engaged process, building foundational comprehension. Then came reading, the navigational charts for his linguistic journey. Why reading is important, the mentor explained, is because it expands your vocabulary and solidifies grammar subconsciously. Alex started with simplified articles, then news, and eventually short stories. Each new word was a landmark, each sentence a new route. He didn't just read, he interacted with the text, highlighting new phrases, looking up synonyms, and trying to use them immediately in his internal monologue. This active engagement transformed static words on a page into dynamic tools for his mind. Reading became less of a task and more of an exploratory expedition. Reading exposed him to diverse sentence structures and idioms that listening alone couldn't provide. He realized how much context a written word carried, how subtle differences in phrasing could alter meaning entirely. His understanding deepened, painting a more vivid picture of the English landscape. The combination of listening and reading felt like his study plane gaining altitude and speed. He was absorbing, processing, and his passive knowledge was growing exponentially. But the real challenge, the landing, involved speaking. This was where most learners felt the terrifying turbulence. Why you should practice speaking, the mentor stated firmly, is because fluency isn't silent knowledge, it's performed art. Alex's stomach churned at the thought of opening his mouth. He feared mistakes, judgment, and the dreaded silence that followed his broken sentences. His first attempts were hesitant, whispering sentences to himself, then recording his voice. Listening back, he cringed, but also noted improvements. It was like practicing takeoffs and landings in a simulator before attempting a real flight. The self-correction process was invaluable. He started small, participating in online forums, typing out his thoughts, then using voice notes. The fear slowly receded as he realized that imperfection was part of the learning journey, not a final destination. Every spoken word was a small victory. Then came the controversial advice he encountered: why you should not learn English. Alex initially scoffed at the idea. Who would say such a thing? The argument was that translation tools were improving rapidly, negating the need for direct language acquisition for many simple interactions. This thought briefly cast a shadow over his dedication. Was all this effort truly necessary if AI could soon bridge linguistic gaps seamlessly? He paused, contemplating. Perhaps for transactional communication, but what about genuine human connection? He realized the argument missed the crucial point. Learning a language wasn't just about exchanging information. It was about understanding cultures, humor, subtle nuances, and building empathy. Technology could translate words, but not the heart of a conversation. So, why you should not learn English became a paradox, highlighting the profound reasons why you must. It pushed Alex to solidify his conviction. English opened doors to vast knowledge, diverse perspectives, and authentic relationships that no machine could replicate. Now, armed with conviction, the mentor shared how to talk with anyone. The advice was surprisingly simple yet profoundly effective. It wasn't about perfect grammar, but about genuine engagement. This was the true art of piloting the conversation plane. The first tip: initiate. Don't wait for others. Start with a simple greeting, a question about their day. It breaks the ice and sets a welcoming tone. Alex practiced this in his mind, then with friends, then with strangers online. Second, listen actively. Why you must listen resurfaced, but now applied to conversations. Don't just wait for your turn to speak. Hear what the other person truly means, their feelings, their underlying message. Ask clarifying questions. Third, show genuine interest. People love talking about themselves. Ask open-ended questions that invite more than a yes or no answer. This keeps the conversation flowing naturally, like a gentle current propelling the plane forward. Fourth, share a little about yourself, but don't monopolize. It's a dialogue, not a monologue. Find common ground, share relevant anecdotes. This reciprocity builds connection and trust, essential for any meaningful interaction. Fifth, embrace mistakes. Let me tell you talking tips, the mentor emphasized. The biggest tip is to shed the fear of error. Native speakers make mistakes too. Focus on conveying your message, not on perfection. Confidence is key. Sixth, use filler words naturally. Phrases like, you know, like, in moderation, are part of natural speech. They buy you time to think and make your speech sound less robotic. It's part of the authentic conversational rhythm. Seventh, paraphrase what you hear. This shows you're listening and helps confirm understanding. So, if I understand correctly, you're saying. It's a powerful tool for clarity and connection, especially in a second language. Eighth, observe body language. Nonverbal cues are a huge part of communication. Pay attention to eye contact, gestures, and posture. These often convey more than words, adding layers to your understanding. Ninth, practice, practice, practice. Find opportunities everywhere. Join online language exchange groups, speak with tourists, or even talk to yourself in English. Consistency is the engine of improvement. 10th, relax and have fun. Conversations are opportunities for connection and learning, not exams. The more relaxed you are, the more naturally your English will flow. Enjoy the journey of discovery. With these talking tips, Alex felt a newfound confidence. His study plane wasn't just flying, it was performing aerial acrobatics. He sought out opportunities to converse, his initial apprehension replaced by genuine curiosity. How to improve your English became his daily mantra. It wasn't about reaching a destination, but about continuous refinement. He understood that language learning was a lifelong pursuit, an ever-evolving skill. He started keeping a vocabulary journal, noting new words and phrases he encountered. He would then try to weave them into his conversations, consciously expanding his active vocabulary. This active recall cemented learning. He also diversified his learning materials. Instead of just general news, he explored topics he genuinely enjoyed: sports, science fiction, history. Learning became enjoyable, not a chore, when it aligned with his interests. To further improve your English, he recorded himself speaking on various topics, then critically reviewed his own pronunciation and grammar. This self-assessment provided invaluable insights, highlighting areas for targeted improvement. He found a language partner, someone with whom he could practice regularly, exchanging feedback and encouragement. This reciprocal relationship proved incredibly beneficial, providing a safe space for experimentation. The concept of learn English transformed for Alex. It wasn't about mastering every single rule or word. It was about effective communication, about expressing himself clearly and understanding others authentically. He understood that perfection was an illusion. Progress, not perfection, was the true measure of success. Every conversation, every book, every listened podcast was a step forward on his personal flight path. How to learn English became less about rigid methods and more about integrating the language into his daily life. It was no longer a separate subject, but an integral part of his existence. He labeled objects around his house in English, thought in English, and even dreamed in English. He created an immersive environment, turning his entire world into a giant classroom. Alex realized that consistency was paramount. Even 15 minutes of focused practice daily was more effective than sporadic, intense bursts. Little by little, his fluency grew. He stopped translating in his head and started thinking directly in English. This was a major breakthrough, a sign his brain was rewiring itself for direct comprehension and production. The why you must listen lesson continued to resonate. He discovered that advanced listening involved picking up on accents, dialects, and subtle cultural references, adding depth to his understanding. He found himself enjoying English language movies without subtitles, understanding the jokes, appreciating the nuances. His study plane was now flying effortlessly through complex narratives. His reading expanded to complex literature, academic papers, and technical manuals related to his profession. The vocabulary he acquired was highly specialized and incredibly useful. Speaking became less about structured practice and more about natural interaction. He initiated conversations confidently, shared his opinions, and debated topics with ease. Alex's English study plane for talking had transformed from a conceptual idea into a powerful reality. He wasn't just learning, he was living the language, fully embodying its spirit. He found himself engaging with international colleagues, presenting ideas fluently, and participating in global discussions. The opportunities that opened up were astounding. His personal life also flourished. He made friends from different countries, sharing stories and perspectives previously inaccessible due to language barriers. He traveled with newfound confidence, navigating foreign cities, ordering food, and engaging locals in conversation effortlessly. The world truly felt smaller and more accessible. The initial frustration and fear had completely dissipated, replaced by a sense of accomplishment and joy. English was no longer a hurdle, it was a powerful tool. He became an advocate, sharing his journey and inspiring others. He told them about the English study plane, encouraging them to embrace the full spectrum of learning. Remember, he'd say, it's not just about words, it's about worlds. He emphasized listening, reading, and especially practicing speaking with courage, embracing imperfections. His advice always included the counterintuitive why you should not learn English lesson, explaining how it truly highlights the language's irreplaceable value for connection. He stressed consistency, explaining how small, regular efforts compound into significant, undeniable progress over time. Every single day, a little step forward accumulated into vast leaps. This steady, persistent dedication proved truly paramount for his remarkable linguistic growth. Alex's journey was a testament to the power of a holistic approach, where listening fueled reading and both empowered confident, natural speaking. He truly mastered how to talk with anyone, not just through techniques, but through cultivating genuine curiosity and empathetic engagement. His How to Improve Your English philosophy was simple: never stop learning, never stop practicing, and always remember the profound joy of connection. Alex, once hesitant, now soared. His English was fluent, his conversations vibrant, his world expansive. The English study plane had taken him higher than he ever imagined.